Welcome to Gemara Academy. In this class, we will learn Taisis Dibra Maschel, Loi Mechayev Rebbe Eller Bershus Hayachid Mekera. Let's begin. Loi Mechayev Rebbe Eller Bershus Hayachid Mekera. In the Gemara, we presented the teaching of Rebbe that if a person threw an item from one Rosh Hashanah to another Rosh Hashanah, and there was a Rosh Hashanah in between, Rebbe said the person is Chayiv. And the Gemara said that when Rebbe says Chayiv, he meant to say he's Mechayev Shtaim, it's Chayev two Chiyuvim. One, because it went from the Rosh Hashanah into the Rosh Hashanah, and another Chiyuv when it went from the Rosh Hashanah out to the Rosh Hashanah. So it seems that we see from there that Rebbe holds Kluto Kemisha Hunchadamia, that once it's contained in the ear of a Rishus, it's if it's resting in that Rishus. So we see that Rebbe holds it's not necessary to have a Hanacha or an Akira from an area that's 4 by 4 Tvachim. So the Gemara says that we have no proof from there that Rebbe holds of something, such a thing, because Rav and Shmuel both say that Loi Mechayev Rebbe Eller B'Rishus Hayachid Mekeira. Rebbe does not make one Chayev unless it's a Rishus Hayachid that had a roof. In other words, if there was no roof on that Rishus Hayachid, Rebbe would not say Chayev, because Rebbe doesn't hold Pluto, because Rebbe holds that we do need an Anach on an area that's 4 by 4, and we do need an Akira from an area that's 4 by 4. So if there's no roof, we don't have those conditions met, the person's not Chayev. It's only if there's a roof on the Rosh Hashanah, and we say Beisa Keman Demal Yadamim. We say, since there's a roof, it's as if the Rosh Hashanah is full of objects, and therefore when the object was thrown through the Rosh Hashanah, we say it's like it came to rest on those objects, which have an area of 4 by 4. And when it continued moving out, we say that it had an akira from those objects, which is an area of 4 by 4. So Rav and Shmuel explained that Loi Mechayev Rebbe Eller B'Rishus Hayachid Mekeira. Rebbe would not make one Chayev unless it's a Rishus Hayachid that had a roof. So Tosfos is going to have two parts. First, Tosfos will explain how do Rav and Shmuel know this. Rebbe just said the person's Chayev, two Chiyuvim. How do Rav and Shmuel know that he's only Mechayev when it's Rishus Hayachid with a roof? Rebbe said plainly he's Chayev. It should apply to all cases. The second part of Tosfos will show us that Rav and Shmuel don't fit with the Gemara. They don't agree with the Gemara, and that Gemara doesn't agree with them in Masechtas Gittin, and how they're going to have to address a question that comes up over there. So let's see Tosfos inside. Near the Rashba, it seems to the Rashba, and it's in purple because he's just explaining where they get it from. He's not asking a question. It seems to the Rashba, the Mashmale, that it seems so to them that it's only by a Rishus Hayachid that has a roof that Rebbe's Machayev. From this that he didn't take as his case, that the person threw it from one Rishus Hayachid to another Rishus Hayachid, the Rishus Harabim Be'ems and the Rishus Harabim was in between. Looked at the Rabbi Kiva Rabbanon, like the argument of Rabbi Kiva and the Rabbanon. If Rebbe meant to say that he holds Kluta Kamisha Unchadamil, he would have spoken of a case where the person threw the object from one Rishus Hayachid to another Rishus Hayachid over Rishus Harabim, and if Rebbe tells us the person is Chayiv two Chiyuvim, we know the only explanation could be that Rebbe holds of Kluta. However, Rebbe didn't speak of such a case where the Rishus Harabim was in between. He spoke of a case where the Rishus Hayachid was in between. Why did he do that? It must be that there's something exclusive and unique by a Rishus Hayachid, and the only explanation we can have is that a Rishus Hayachid has the option of being a Rishus Hayachid Mekoira with a roof, and then we could say basic command Demal Yadamim. So from this, that Rebbe didn't speak of a case where it's clear that the only explanation is Kluto. Rather, he spoke of a case where there could be an alternative interpretation made. It shows that that's what he intended us to say. That's what he intended, and he figured we would know that, since he's speaking about this unique case. Now we'll move on to the second part of Tosfos, now that we know what Rav and Shmuel are based on. The second part of Tosfos is to point out that there's a Gemara in Gittin that doesn't fit with Rav and Shmuel. Says Tosfos, Vayhi de Gittin, so he doesn't ask a question, what about the Gemara in Gittin, and then answer that it doesn't fit with Rav and Shmuel. He just says simply, so it's in purple. He's just mentioning that Rav and Shmuel don't fit with the Gemara in Gittin. Vayhi de Gittin, and that Gemara in Gittin, Perek HaZerik and Perek HaZerik, Gabe Hoysei Medes Al-Reish Agak V'Zarku Lochulu. The Gemara in Gittin explains the mission over there. The mission over there presents two cases of how a husband gave his wife the get. The first case is that she was standing on the roof. The case that's important for us is the second case, that the husband was standing on the roof, and the woman was standing in the courtyard, and the husband threw her the get. And the Mishnah says that if he threw the get and she never received it, it fell into a fire, she's still divorced. So the Gemara asks, why is she divorced? She never got the get. So the Gemara explains two things. Number one, says the Gemara, it's referring to a case where the walls of the courtyard were very high. And the Gemara continues and says, and the Gemara says, Keman, who does this Mishnah go like? Kerebi, it's like Rebbe. The armor that says, Kluto Kemisha Unchadami, he says that when items contained in the ear of a Rishus, it's if it's resting. And that's why she's divorced, because once it entered the ear of the Rishus, of her Chatzar, it's if it's resting, so it's as if she got the get, even though it actually got burnt in a fire. So what do we see? That Gemara understands that Rebbe is based on Kluto. Rav and Shmuel say that Rebbe is based on basic command Demal Yadamim. Says Tosfos loy savri de Rav and Shmuel. That Gemara doesn't hold of Rav and Shmuel over here. The Omri that they say, the loy chayev Rebbe eller b'rishus hayachid mekera, that say that Rebbe would not make one chayev unless it's a b'rishus hayachid with a roof. That means if there was no roof, he wouldn't be chayev. Why don't we say it's chayev? There's kluta. Clearly, Rav and Shmuel say that Rebbe does not hold of kluta. So it'll come out that the Gemara over there understands Rebbe to be based on kluta. The person will be chayev whether there is or isn't a roof. And Rav and Shmuel say it's not based on kluta, and therefore the person will not be chayev if there's no roof on the b'rishus hayachid. Now, the problem is, how are we going to understand the Mishnah over there? The Mishnah says she's divorced. Why is she divorced if Rebbe doesn't hold of Kluta? And we cannot say that the reason she's divorced is because that Mishnah follows Rabbi Akiva who holds of Kluta, because Tosfos over there explains why that Mishnah cannot follow Rabbi Akiva. So why is she divorced? If there's no Kluta, then the woman shouldn't be divorced and she never actually got the get. So Tosfos will explain that. So this is only needed according to Rav and Shmuel, who say that Rebbe doesn't hold of Kluta. Well, they do, and according to them, Rav and Shmuel, Sarich l'shenuya, we have to answer the Hosam Mishumin Torah, that over there it's because of protection. In other words, over here, what we need, by Shabbos, we need the item to be at rest. By a get, there's no requirement for it to be at rest. The point by the get, what we need, the goal is that it should be safe and protected. So the Hosam and Shuman Torah over there, what's needed is that should be protected, and the get is protected since, like we explained, the walls of the courtyard were high, and therefore we don't need it to be at rest, and it's okay if the get got burnt in a fire, since once it entered the walls of the courtyard, it was already considered protected and safe. And how do we know that this is all that's needed by a get, that it should be protected? Like the Gemara over there says, according to the Rabbanon, the Gemara continues over there in Masechtas Gittin and says, we don't have to establish the Mishnah according to Rebbe and base it on Kluta. Rather, afilu tema Rabbanon, even if you want to say it follows the Rabbanon who don't hold of Kluta. Ki pligi Rabbanon, when do the Rabbanon argue with Rebbe? Le'inyan Shabbos, by Shabbos. Because by Shabbos you need it to be at rest. So if the Rabbanon don't hold of Kluta, it's not at rest. The Rebbe who does hold of Kluta says it is at rest. So only by Shabbos, where the requirement is for it to be at rest, then the Rabbanon will argue with Rebbe that it's not at rest since we don't hold of Kluta. But over here, all that's needed, that should be protected. And for them, it's protected even without Kluta, since the walls of the courtyard were high. So to summarize the Tosfos, first Tosfos explained how Rav and Shmuel know that Rebbe is referring to a case that the Rosh Hashanah has a roof on it. The second part of Tosfos is we explained that the Gemara in Masechtas Gittin doesn't agree with the way Rav and Shmuel understand the opinion of Rebbe, and then we also mentioned how according to Rav and Shmuel they'll have to explain the Mishnah over there in Masechtas Gittin.